One. Right.
A good afternoon, dear viewers. Welcome to today's Tax Tuesday webinar. I'm your host, Joanne Kansime, that will be taking us through. Today's topic is return filing, because that's the season we're in. And to help us navigate this season with confidence, we've brought a tax expert to help us break it down and bring clarity. But before we dive into this discussion, I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for hosting me today. Our dear viewers, thank you so much for joining in and joining me today's session. My name is Jimmy Mukwago from the Stakeholder Relations Office. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. First things first,
Yes.
What is return filing?
Return filing, just like we talked about it. Okay, before we talk about return filing, what we need our dear viewers there to know is, first of all, to understand what is a return.
Yes.
Because return filing is now a process. So what a return is, basically you look at it, a return is a declaration of income that a taxpayer makes to URA in a particular period, periodically. So the key words here is declaration, and then I'll look at periodically. So which means there is a time aspect, and then there is the return itself. So a return, basically we are looking at, you are declaring to URA. In layman's language, everyone does business. And at the end of the day, when you do business, then you have to return to URA. How have you performed? You tell us. And when you declare, then that is where you are anticipated to know how much tax you are going to pay, or how much do you demand you are. Because not everyone who returns is supposed to pay. There are those who are supposed to pay. So basically, a return is a declaration. Then we look at return filing now as a process. That is the process of returning the information in your business you've made in a particular period to URA. That is return filing. So, and that return filing should be in a manner prescribed by the Commissioner General. So, in a manner prescribed by the Commissioner General. So, the Commissioner General will prescribe how do we want the return to look like. Previously, way back when we had not yet automated our systems and the processes, people would carry their papers and they bring them to URA, and we assess them to know how much taxes they are supposed to pay. But currently, everything is automated. You just sit at the back of your comfort zone and you file on your return.
So now you talked about those that are supposed to pay and those that are not supposed to pay.
Yes.
So who should file returns?
Okay, thank you so much. Who should file returns? You see, we are bound by the law. So, and at the end of the day, you realize that everyone who is a taxpayer, the law defines who a taxpayer is. So, whoever is a taxpayer is supposed to pay. And the obligation, the payment comes as the filing comes as an obligation for the taxpayer. Because taxpayers have rights and obligations. So when you're obligated to file, then that means it is a responsibility. So all taxpayers, as defined in the URA laws, they are the ones who are mandated to file. We look at filing, the taxpayers can be persons, because the law defines them as persons, and there is a definition according to the law. But breaking it may be in our layman's language when we are discussing here. These can be individuals or non-individuals.
So then, sorry to cut you short, but I want you to also continue and tell us what are some of those tax returns that are being filed. Yes.
So you look at, I was still looking at the individuals and then the non-individuals. So the obligation to file depends on the registration, type you as a taxpayer, you registered. If you're registered as a company, you're supposed to file
As a company.
And if you're registered as an individual, then you're supposed to file
As an individual.
Then also, the obligation to file depends on the tax types you registered for. If you're a company and registered, that I registered for VAT, I registered for withholding tax, I registered for pay as you earn, I registered for local excise duty. You're supposed to file for all those tax heads when the month ends. And regardless, because all those types, the obligation to register for them cuts across whether you are an individual or a non-individual.
A company, yes.
So the other question you asked me was?
Who should, but you answered that. Maybe you can also tell us how often do we file these returns?
Okay. So, you see, there are returns which are filed annually, every year, depending on the registration type, or depending on the year of income registered. There are those who return using a normal year of income from July to June. Then there are those who are operating on substituted year of income. That is from January to December, depending, because you can come to your year and you say, I think conveniently I can return in this period. Then there are those which are returned monthly, every month. And those are basically where we reach out to taxpayers every month, reminding them kindly, you have to file, the deadline is up, because they are returned monthly.
And what is that deadline?
Then, and looking at such types of taxes, I could look at taxes like pay as you earn, taxes like VAT, value added tax, withholding tax, if you're withholding taxes, you're supposed to return. Then we could look at taxes like local excise duty.
Sure.
And so on, depending on the taxes you registered for. Then there are those which are returned every week. Local, gaming, and rotaries. That one is returned every week. Then those which are returned every month, the obligation is every month, every time that a month ends. Then URA gives you 15 days to return or to file your return or to tell us how did you perform in the month ends. So unless otherwise, if the Commissioner General communicates with taxpayers that, you know what, I'm extending you that period because maybe of certain circumstances, then you can file after every 15 days. But otherwise, if at all anything has not changed, you're supposed to file before 15. Take for instance these previous local elections. Taxpayers were communicated to and they were told, because elections are going to be falling on the same day of filing, then please return before.
Earlier.
But if maybe the deadline is falling on an Independence Day, you can decide, you know what, we are extending you a period so that maybe you can file on 16.
Now you've talked of public holidays, which may affect the filing date. Yes. How about when it falls on a weekend? For example, 15th is on a weekend this time. It doesn't affect.
It does not affect you. Because at the end of the day, unless the Commissioner guarantees, depending on the circumstance, otherwise you're supposed to file because internet is there and everything is there. Your business information, you have it. Why don't you read it? File that.
Now, for example, also someone might say, if I return just a day late, does it have any implication? Just one day late?
You see, the obligation is you're supposed to file on even before. Because if the month ends on 30th or 31st, and we are giving you 15
more days.
For sure, what we are doing from 1st, 2nd, up to 15th. So it's better you file on. Because the system is designed in such a way that even if it is 1 minute past, already you're late. So it doesn't guarantee whether it's a day or weeks. For as long as you've not hit the deadline, which might be midnight of that particular day, then you are late.
So what are those implications? What am I faced with if I delay or if I fail to file?
Of course. You see, when you fail to file, there are consequences that come along with non-compliance. And we will look at if you're supposed to file by the end of every month, then and you don't file, one, you are attracting a penalty when you file after the period has ended. Then you get your penalty of 200,000. And of course, late filing comes without of non-compliance issues, because at the end of the day, when we are analyzing when you are analyzing or when we are guaranteeing you some of the opportunities you're supposed to be coming up with as URA, we would look at when do you file. Take for instance, if you come and you want to get tax clearance from URA, then you will not be in position to get it if you didn't file on time. And of course, at the end of the day, it is entering your business income, like your profits. Because if I thought you're going to be filing late, then for sure, it becomes very burdensome to your business. And the other thing is, if you're not going to be filing on time, you can ask to extend the period to file on time. Because URA guarantees you that. Previously, we've been having issues when we rolled out our local excise duty returns. They had challenges. And you anticipate that really I'm making this return, but I'm not guaranteed that it will go through. You can always ask for an extension to file a return, and you declare how long do you want to file this return. You can ask for a month, ask for 5 days, for 10 days, depending. But you have to do this earlier.
How do I do that? How do I ask for that extension?
Because all our processes are automated. So even in the automation of the process of requesting to ask to extend the period, you just log into your TIN number when you have it. Then in the same e-services that are currently out there, you always see requesting to extend the period to file your return. And at the end of the day, it will be going to your tax office, where any tax officer will approve it. But like I told you, you have to do it earlier. Because if you're doing it midnight when there are no staff in the office, then honestly, who will be approving? So you have to do it earlier. That's when you anticipate that you will not be in position to file that return. But however, when you extend, or then the obligation to pay is due at that day. So much as you extend, but first give us that money.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Pay the money, but we shall guarantee you the extension. You file later.
Okay.
Yes.
And now someone is asking, if a taxpayer who has no transactions in this month, can they also file a return?
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, the obligation to file does not necessitate you to have done profits or whatsoever, or you've done business. There are people who have gotten challenges even in their businesses where they say, but I don't have employees, why should I file? Filing is an obligation, whether you made a transaction or you didn't. So you have to file whether you made transactions or you did.
Because now someone also might ask, but we are talking about return filing, we are talking about all those things, but what is the difference between filing a return and paying a tax? Is it the same thing?
Okay, so those are two different things, depending on the context.
Yes.
Because filing a return is you are making a declaration to the commissioner.
It's a declaration.
That this is the way my business looks like. Like I said, monthly, you are telling us how did you perform monthly? How much employees did you give out salary, and how much payers and did you deduct from them, and you are giving it to URA? Or how much purchases did you make and how much sales did you make? Then the difference is what you're paying to URA as VAT.
Okay.
But now, when you get that, because looking at taking an example of employees, when you are deducting all that payers you earn from them, then when you submit that return, a payment registration slip will be generated. So when you generate that payment slip, then it necessitates you to go to the bank and
make a payment.
That money. So that is now paying the taxes, which resulted from you filing
the return.
Yes.
Okay, so now we've been talking about the returns, and I believe that most of us have actually understood what return filing is all about.
Mm.
But then maybe you could also take us through the process. You've given us an idea of how to ask for an extension, but then now we want to understand what's the process. At least take us through, even if it's not so technical, but at least give us a review of how we can file a return.
Okay. Now, filing a return, like I told you, that the Commissioner General prescribes how the return will look like. And in our URA processes, you would realize that, as I told you, that different tax heads have different ways of how to be filed. So, if take for instance, if it is pay as you earn, if you have employees out there, take for instance, even us here at URA, our accounting officer, we have different modules which we call templates. You are guaranteed like it formed up templates which you can use to file. Much as we are even working better because internet penetration has been a problem in Uganda, and that's why we had templates. Because templates, when even you are offline, you can always use it and download it. It is always available on what? The computer. But we are working on now automating. For those who file VAT, they can really guarantee that previously we were downloading a template, then we populate the information which we already have in URL, then we bring it back to upload it. But now currently, you just go, you open your web form, you look at what did you do, then you, if you agree with what is available in the information, you just click submit and the information comes to us. Then for like pay as you earn, of course that one you have employees, of which each employee has a TIN number.
Yes.
So when you download that template, you put in the TIN numbers of your employees. Then you even put their names, you put their amounts, how much does each employee get. And each employee will always fall in a tax bracket, in which, depending on the amount of money he or she gets. And then, of course, the template will calculate everything for you. You don't have to have to.
Everything is on the website, on your page.
Yes, because those Excel sheets have been customized in such a way that when you put all the right information, even if it is wrong, it will calculate for you the taxes. Maybe for you to claim the overpayment, it will come later, but for it will have that one. It will have calculated the taxes and submitted it to you. So when you do everything, then you validate. Of course, it will always show you that there are no errors.
Yes.
And once you get that message, then you can upload. But now filing it operates when you have a URL account. Your account, meaning you have a TIN number and a password. When you log in, then there are different menus in that TIN number, and among them is filing a return. So once you click on filing a return, it will always ask you, please attach the template that you are going to do to file. Once you attach it, then it will always synchronize, because it is synchronization, and the URI databases or even the systems will tell you your template has no issues. Then it will tell you, do you want to go on and upload or submit it? You say yes. Then once you submit it, it will send you an acknowledgement that you filed your return, and these are the taxes you're supposed to do what? Pay. And it will generate for you a payment registration slip, which has a payment registration number. You take to the bank to what? To pay.
Make payment.
Yes. And at the end of the day, once you do that, then automatically it will not have any. Maybe for those who file late, once you submit, it will come with a payment registration slip, but it will have the tax amount and the penalty.
Yeah. Okay.
The penalty amount, which is the 200. So if you're supposed to be paying 500 as taxes, then plus 200 as penalty, of course you end up paying 700.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, dear viewer, remember we are live on X and on YouTube. Kindly send in your questions and they will be answered by our expert in the studio. But while at that, you talked of errors.
Yes.
In case I'm filing and then I find I've made an error, what do I do next?
Okay. So basically, because there is always rule. We are humans.
Mm.
We know very well that when we are undertaking processes like that, we are prone to what? Errors. So there is no need for panic when you've made an error in return, because there is a prerequisite for you to amend.
Mm.
So when you make an error in your return, our dear taxpayers out there, don't panic. But before even you submit your return, first make sure that you make thorough clarification in your return and there are no errors. Because at the end of the day, when you want to amend a return, there is always a timeline for you to do what? To amend its return. Take for instance, income tax returns for companies.
Yes.
URA will always give you up to 12 months for you to amend it.
Mm.
Then other returns, yes, even other returns, the monthly, they will always give you timelines for you to amend it. So at the end of the day, when you make an error, you can always go back and amend. But this time round in amendment, the same way you do the return filing is the same way you do the amendment. And using the same templates, the templates are such customized in such a way that once you are coming and you want to amend, it will ask you, are you filing an original return or you are making an amendment? And of course you say, I'm making an amendment. And it will even ask you, what is the reason for amend? Either you left out one employee or you made more declarations in your sales, or there are some expenses you didn't declare. Yes.
Or you over declared.
Or yeah, if you over declared your sales, but of which at the end of the day, when if you over declare the sales, then you have to have, because at the end of the day, we work on first-hand information, and at the end of the day, when you are going to make any adjustments lower, then at the end of the day, you will have to seek approvals from URI, because even an amendment, it will always be approved by URI.
Okay. Yes. So now if I've over declared and maybe I've already now paid some of the things that I'm supposed to pay, do you ever refund as URA?
Because URA, we are here to collect taxes where they are due, and even we are supposed to refund where people have erroneously made their payments. And even for instance, like we talked about VAT. VAT, you can either be in a payable position when you made more sales than purchases, or you can be in a claimable position where you over purchased but you made no sales. So at the end of the day, you can ask for that refund, much as there is a minimum amount which necessitates you to be refunded. That could be like 10 million.
Okay.
But even in other aspects, you've heard of our modules like because before you transfer, before we refund you this money, you can use it for other aspects. This money is always available, and payment of the tax does not stop on that particular month. You can even carry it next month. So we have seen modules like credit transfer, payment transfer, payment corrections. Those are all modules under payment. So before we fund you this money, since the obligation of paying taxes does not stop in that particular month, we can guide you, even advise you on how to use this money in the later future.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Jimmy is really clear. And I believe that we're having great understanding of what return filing is and what it entails. In case you miss anything, please make sure that you go back to our recordings, because we shall leave this on our YouTube. And we shall be taking in a few questions to make sure that we answer everything that you need to know about this. But in the process, in the time being, you can be telling us more about return filing, Jimmy, because I'm imagining someone, because we've heard all that you've said,
Yes.
but I'm imagining someone who is now thinking about the tax waiver. They're like, how do I ensure that I file so fast and make sure that I benefit from this waiver that is going on?
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, like we talked about return filing, and we said return filing for companies and then return filing for individuals. You see, there is what we call a provisional return, and then there is what we call an annual return. You see, the obligations when a financial year stops or ends, and the obligation when a financial year starts. When a financial year starts, like the way it started in July 1st, all companies are obligated to file what we call provisional returns. Provide to URI how is your business going to perform. And even individuals, they're supposed to provide how is your business going to perform. So for companies, they have 6 months to provide to URI how their businesses are going to perform. So which means if the financial year started in July 1st, normal, then they have up to December to provide. And in all those months, some companies start by providing when it is zero. A person just goes, provides zero. Then as the months keep on going, is always amending. Because take for instance, if you anticipate that your business is going to make 500 million, but at the end of the day it doesn't, then you're supposed to go back and either reduce. So depending on the way I'm seeing things, I think I overestimated, I overstated. Then you can go. Or the way I'm seeing things, my business might boom. You go and increase.
Okay.
Then for companies have 6 months.
Yes.
But for individuals, they have 3 months.
Okay.
When the financial year starts. Then when the financial year ends, you are supposed to file. You are supposed to. URI gives you more 6 months to file your return for both companies and individuals. So in those 6 months, you've heard of companies now. Take for instance, big companies where you have to provide audited books of accounts. Don't just go there and bring anything. No. Because at the end of the day, when whatever you provide to the Commissioner General is going to verify, and once there is any inconsistency, then that's when you have heard of assessment. So when you not properly declare your income, much as we are operating a self-declaration regime, you sit, you know your business, you tell us. But if you don't tell us rightly, then we shall sit with the powers vested in the Commissioner General, which in that aspect will be the officer. He will assess you, tell you, here you deceived us, and he will correct it. And in the correction, that's when he's assessing you. He's putting right what he did do well.
Jimmy, that is very clear. And now we have a question from Nyanzi Richard on Zoom. He's asking, Dear URA, thanks so much for training. My tax affairs regarding my director's tax returns for the financial year 2023-2024 were not filed. Please note that I did not earn any income as a director during this specific period. I intend to file the missing returns soon. Given the current, now we come to the tax waiver. Given the current tax waiver under the amended TPCA, I would like to confirm that I qualify for the 100% waiver on late filing penalties that were outstanding as of June 30th, 2024. Thank you for the guidance and for providing opportunity to voluntarily comply.
Okay, thank you so much. So you said the name of?
Nyanzi.
Mr. Nyanzi.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Nyanzi, for that wonderful feedback. So, like to the rest of our dear viewers, we have a waiver that is going on, and this waiver is applying to the principal tax, which is outstanding as at 30th June 2024. And you can only anticipate this principal tax when you filed those returns. But at the end of the day, but it is as at 30th June 2024. So if he had directors,
yes,
who did not fulfill the obligations, then I would request him to go on and fulfill the obligations of filing those returns early in time, so that they can say we can say how to
pay that principal tax, because good enough, he says he did not file the returns from 2023 to 2024, meaning he qualifies for this waiver if he pays that principal tax that is being demanded of him, right?
That waiver in accordance to law, because it is as at 30th June
2024.
2024. So you realize that the waiver, there is a particular period in which it ends, and there are particular financial years where it ends. Because if the financial year started in 1st July 2023 and it ended on 30th June 2024, then that means if it is as at 30th June,
yes,
then that particular financial year renders out of the bracket that we're looking at, because we are looking at as at 30th June.
as at 30th June 2024.
Because if the financial year is due as at 30th June, then that financial year is not within the brackets.
No.
Maybe more explanation we will be looking at when we are coming to break down the waiver. But for periods which are prior, which are not filed before, then they can go on to file those returns, and they say how they can be supported from their tax office.
Please note, dear viewer, that the tax waiver episodes have been already uploaded on our YouTube channel, URA TV. Please subscribe. Don't miss any of our recordings, any of our discussions. Even this early morning, the morning of today, we had a webinar touching the same issue. So please go ahead. You can even leave a comment and we shall be able to answer you when we read your comments. So thank you very much, Mr. Richard. Thank you for reaching out. And we hope that you were answered well. If you are not, please go ahead and comment and we shall be able to get back to you. With that, please, do you have any parting shots?
Okay. Thank you. As I leave our taxpayers, I want to thank them. And I want to remind them that filing is an obligation, much as we also have rights. But filing is an obligation of which it has to be carried out every 15 days after the matters ended. And the payment due date is the due date of filing. So if the due date for filing a return is 15, then the due date of payment is that same day. Otherwise, you can even pay before. You can even pay.
You don't have to wait for the 15th.
You can even give us that money in the course of the month. Because payment can always come earlier, even before the payment. But what I would always guarantee is before you make any payment, when it is not resulting from filing a return, be very sure of which type of payment you're making and under which particular payment, for you not to make any mistake. However, I want to thank them for filing their returns, because even today is 12.
Yes.
They are left with only 15, with only 3 days.
Yes.
So make sure that you go out and file those returns which are monthly, that is VAT, pay as you earn, withholding tax, local excise duty, and the gaming tax, whatsoever which is supposed to be fulfilled monthly. And then at the end of the day, when you pay your taxes and file very well, it comes with a lot of incentives. You don't have to move around when you're looking for tax clearance. URA will always spot on. And even for customs related issues, we always categorize our taxpayers. There are those who are compliant, and really the clearance of their goods, we don't delay them.
True.
Part of the authorized economic operators, where we really don't have to burden you when you're going to do business.
Because you're compliant.
Yes. But I would look at even our taxpayers who are small taxpayers. So those ones also have a different way of filing. And that is something I left out. So at the end of the day for them, they will always also make their payment, but they can always come out to your offices and they seek out support on how we can support. Okay.
Richard has a follow-up question.
Yes.
Saying, additionally, I did not earn any income as a director during that specific period. If I file a nil return, do I qualify for the 100% waiver on late filing penalties?
Late filing penalties. You see, there is a context of directors, and what we had even to look at, there are people who are not supposed to file return. Maybe what I could look at, like for instance, people who their sole source of income is employment.
Yes.
Like me, if I don't have any business, if I don't work in multiple organizations, and my sole source of income is URA, then I'm not mandated to file return. URA, once URA files a return on my behalf, then I'm done. But you realize that in directors have different sources of income. There are those who are shareholders, those who earn commissions, those who earn debentures and all aspects. So at the end of the day, directors might be mandated to file their return, individual returns, much as to let you to tell URA what their sources are. So if a director did not
Earn an income.
any income in a particular year of income, then much as he did, he is obligated to file a new return, like he said. And if you file a new return, you have to do it any time. If you did do it any time, and you do past the period which is recommended by URA, then you will have a penalty.
You have to pay that penalty.
And you have to pay that penalty. And remember, and even I think some of our predecessors will be coming here to break down the waiver, things like that. The waiver is applying when you have a principal. Yes. So when there is a principal to pay, then the penalties and interest will be waived automatically. But now if you don't have
a principal,
how are we going to put it into consideration?
Okay.
But that one can always apply, because since it is a waiver of interest, we can always do it back in and say how to navigate so that everyone benefits from this waiver, because it is available for everyone to utilize for as long as they fall in that particular period, which is to which the waiver relates to. So let none of the client or taxpayer out there sit back. Kindly come out to any URA office for support on the waiver, because this waiver is available and it is going to benefit each and every one of you out there, whether you have penalties, you have interest, or you have principals. And for as long as the tax is at 30th June 2024. But this should be taxes in domestic tax. They are not related to customs.
Not customs. Okay. Thank you very much, Jimmy. That was very elaborate. And I know there may be more questions, but in case you need to contact us, please call our toll-free numbers 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000, or you can also send us a mail on services@ura.go.ug. And more importantly, on our social medias, please send in your questions and you'll be answered promptly. That brings us to the end of today's webinar. And I want to say thank you very much, Jimmy. Thank you for you've broken down this return filing. You've given it a bit of, you've made it easier for us to digest it in this season and to help us go through this season confidently. Remember, filing isn't just a requirement, but it's also a financial relief for you as a taxpayer. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good day. Happy filing.